In a series of 4, this is the third Paleo Story Stone Face and Mammoth effigy, made out of this beautiful rainbow-colored volcanic glass from Java, Indonesia. This was dug up in Java, Indonesia, and they dig them up in alluvial fields that are ancient Paleolithic offering fields. This was a Paleolithic offering effigy, what I call Paleo Story Stone Face and Mammoth effigies, that I discovered in October of 2020. These were unobserved prior to my discovery. Nobody knew about these human face and mammoth effigies that span the world, that are found. I have them from every continent except Antarctica, and going all the way back to Homo habilis some 2 million years ago. So from 12,000 years ago to 2 million years ago, these effigies were being made. Now, this is a beautifully flaked, percussion flaked, pressure flaked, grooved and etched for the mammoth hair and the hair of the faces, and also ground. All the edges of the piece are ground, as is the custom when it comes to volcanic glass Paleolithic story stone face and mammoth effigies. The edges were typically ground, very similar, pretty much identical to the bases of Clovis points. So that for those of us who have studied and collected Clovis points, we know what basal grinding looks like, and we'll see that this is exactly the kind of grinding that's displayed on these pieces. And we find that on obsidian story stones, but for sure on the volcanic glass specimens. The etching on this stone had been unobserved prior to my discovery as well. So nobody really knew about any etching, patterned etching that is, not just random, but patterned etching and grooving on flaked stone artifacts prior to my discovery. So these are wonderful pieces. Like I say, this was dug up in an alluvial deposit in Java, Indonesia. There were probably a dozen or more of these effigy offerings found in this color rainbow stone. But I was able to acquire 4 of what I thought were the best ones in the way of color and certainly of mammoth and facial imagery, and how they were well executed, well flaked, well etched, well ground. So I wanted to just share that with you today. That's a baby mammoth there looking off to the left. That's its eye, the pink inclusion there. And it's a rocking mammoth. And I have several of these story stone effigies where the babies are rocking. They're able to be rocked. Not only do they stand upright, but they actually rock. And I think that was a movement that likely the baby mammoth had, along with an enlarged hair tuft, to make themselves larger in the face of predators, to stave off predators. But that's a baby mammoth with his little baby trunk here, its eye right here. And then we have a face looking up from the back of the mammoth here. We're going to see this is an eye, a nose, and a mouth when we turn this vertically, and we can do that. Before we do that, let's turn it this way. And that is a mature mammoth, now facing right. Wow, that is a very cool mature mammoth facing right. That's the eye of the mature mammoth right here, the big sweeping trunk, the rear legs, the arch between the rear legs and the front legs. And that blue is the eye of a face looking off from the back of the mammoth. That is a very cool blue eye and nose and mouth of a face. You can see it when it's more vertical like that. Look at that face. That eye is just powerful. And they use that blue inclusion for the face, the human face, looking up from the back of the mammoth, which is typical iconographics when it comes to paleo story stone face and mammoth effigies. We see that regardless of the material they're made out of. We see that same imagery over and over and over and over again. With the faces looking up. Look at that eye of the face looking up from the back of that mammoth. they use those inclusions that way. They flaked it down to where those inclusions would be able to be used in the imagery of the mammoths and the faces. Then when we turn it this way, now we have that blue eye as the human eye, and the young nose, upturned nose over here and mouth down below of a young human face now looking off to the left. That's the young human face looking off to the left with this blue eye, nose, and mouth. And then the older, more devious type looking face, here's the eye, the nose, open mouth down here, kind of evil looking face with this, the eye and the nose looking off to the right. Very powerful, I might add there. Wow. And then we can also use this as the eye. This is a huge percussion flake that they flaked out here. Then they flaked a smaller flake here to make the eye of the young face now, looking off to the left with this, the upturned nose. And then that's the eye of the older face with the big droopy nose all along that right ridge there. All along that ridge, big droopy nose there. This is the eye. They actually chipped it out of there on purpose. And we see the basal grinding here. This grinding is beautiful. It's just like the grinding we find on the base of Clovis points. Same grinding, paleo grinding right there. And they did that to soften the edges so as not to cut themselves and keep it softer feeling there. And that was done in Paleolithic times. There's no modern workmanship on this whatsoever. And then we have faces here. Now this is, I call it rainbow volcanic glass, but it's not to be confused with rainbow obsidian. Obsidian and this volcanic glass that I discovered, I first discovered this glass and that it was used in association with making Paleolithic effigies. Look at all that beautiful flaking and grooving and etching in through there. Outstanding. And these were different, way different than obsidian. There's no oxygen in this. If you look at the more section underneath this video, there'll be a very good scientific analysis of this glass, including an XRF X-ray Fluorescence Spreadsheet link that you can click that will take you to the spreadsheet developed by the Stephen F. Austin State University in Austin, Texas, in their geology department. They tested 1 yellow, 1 green, and 1 blue paleo storystone effigies made out of this volcanic glass, and their tests confirmed that it is naturally occurring glass, volcanic glass, and not man-made glass, not a tektite. Tektites are loaded with oxygen, silicon dioxide. This has no oxygen atoms in it whatsoever. And then, of course, obsidian is loaded with oxygen. It's silicon dioxide. Again, this has no oxygen in it at all. This is completely different stone than obsidian, not even close. It's a highly dense, transparent, colorful glass. But look at the spreadsheet and the more section underneath this video, and to scroll to see every atom that's involved in this, the atomic makeup of this. It'll show the atomic makeup. Use the bottom right hand arrows to scroll to the end of the spreadsheet, and you will see everything that's included in this glass. And what's not included is super important. Another great mature mammoth facing off to the right. So I just wanted to share in a series of 4, the third Paleo Story Stone facing mammoth effigy made out of this beautiful, beautiful rainbow colored that face looking up from the back of the mammoth is outstanding. Paleo Story Stone, volcanic glass rainbow from West Java, Indonesia.